Joining us right now with reaction to Israel's airstrikes on Iran, Michael OHanlon, who is the Director of Foreign Policy Research at Brookings. He's also the Philip H. Knight Chair in Defense and Strategy. And Mike, your thoughts on what we saw overnight? There was some indication that we could be seeing something happening in the Middle East, certainly, but maybe this was more than some had anticipated.
Hi, Becky. Well, it's striking news and obviously ongoing. Multiple days of additional attack expected. I'm intrigued as to what Israel thinks it can accomplish around the Fordo site. As you know, that's the deep underground nuclear enrichment facility that, as far as we know so far, has not yet been struck. And without effective attacks against that, Israel may be really only accomplishing a delaying action here, especially given Iran's likely reaction, which would be to withdraw from any cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency. And so I'll be intrigued. I was wondering if Israel had a special forces raid in mind for that site. If they had such a plan, they presumably would have started with that, not carried it out later on. So that's one big question I've got. But I'm not surprised by the efficiency and the effectiveness of the attacks so far against some of the sites and against some of the key leadership. And you would expect that kind of excellence from the Israeli armed forces.
We brought that question up several times today, Mike. Why, if you have the ability to do something with Fordo, where most of those centrifuges are now centered for Iran, that's the one that's buried about half a mile underground. If you had the ability to do it, why not do it now?
Well, I'm not sure they do have the ability to do it. And I've heard some commentary on your show this morning that I'm not sure I fully agree with, not from you, but from other guests, about whether Israel really has this kind of bunker busting capability. And many people were skeptical that Israel would carry out this attack more or less on its own or completely on its own, lacking such capabilities, as well as lacking the ability to sustain air operations over many hundreds of miles the way that the United States could. Now, they've proven already they can do pretty well in the air, even so far from home. So I guess they solved that piece. But I don't know that they have the bunker busting capability to get down hundreds of meters into rock. And frankly, I'm not sure how well we would do with that mission. We would probably do pretty well. But the whole idea of Fordo was to be insulated against this kind of attack. And so I'm dubious that Israel is going to get it.
That leads to the questions of what the United States will do next. And President Trump has been fairly active on Truth Social this morning. One post that he said is that, you know, the United States makes the best and most lethal military equipment anywhere in the world by far. Israel has a lot of it, with much more to come. He's also said that this is what he warned Iran. He gave them 60 days. This is day 61, and this is what happens next. How will Iran react to that, do you think? And do they have a chance to get them back to the table to try and reach an agreement?
Well, I hope so on the latter question, but it's going to be tough. I think Iran's reaction will be twofold. One, they will have to do something, at least in their own minds, they'll have to do something violent in reply. And we know they've tried multiple approaches, and many of their options are not very good. But I still think they'll feel the need to do something. And it may look like some of their old-fashioned anti-civilian truck bombing kind of stuff. It may be an attempt to assassinate Israeli politicians around the world. I don't know. I think they'll feel like they need to do something. And I hope they won't, but I expect they will. Second, the big question long term is, what about their nuclear program going forward? Again, I'm dubious that Israel is going to achieve a completely disarming strike. And even if Israel did, Iran would have the ability to start to rebuild its centrifuge capabilities in locations that perhaps we don't find out about. Bear in mind that it took some good luck and Iranian dissident groups for us to learn about the second nuclear site 20 years ago. So you can build these sites sometimes and get away with it clandestinely. And I think Israel has to expect that that will be Iran's recourse. So it's going to be hard for us to get to a new nuclear deal, but I think that should be the priority, as my colleague and friend Ken Pollack argued this morning in foreignaffairs.com.
I guess part of what they accomplished is taking out some of these nuclear scientists. I don't think I'd want to be an Iranian nuclear scientist, knowing that the Israelis and potentially others would be targeting you on some of these issues. The other part of the question, though, is when Iran retaliates, will it be only against Israel, or will they try and retaliate against U.S. military assets? Will they try and retaliate against Saudi Arabia or other nations that they think, even though they've condemned it, must have allowed them to fly over their airspace?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. And I think that Iran If I had to guess, which is always dangerous, predicting about the future is not the best thing to do on live television, but I don't think Iran will strike the United States with any vehemence. There's a chance they'll feel the need to do something symbolic, maybe not even risking loss of life, I don't know, against a facility or something, just to show their displeasure and their belief that we are Israel's best friend. But I don't know that they really want to invite major American retaliation. So that would be my guess, but it's a close call in their mind, I would think. And then in terms of what they can really do against the Israelis, I don't know. They can certainly try harder than they have been to conduct assassinations or terrorist strikes around the world that would target, Jewish facilities like in Argentina in the 1990s. Remember that case long ago? Or some other location like that that's not as well protected as many sites would be inside of Israel. That's another option they've got. But I think they will feel the need to do something dramatic and violent, and then think hard about the nuclear option going forward.